Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. So, I mainly posting this video to process and to put it out there just to see if anybody else has felt like how I'm feeling, if they have any advice, kind of, just to help me reassure myself that I'm not alone. And I know as believers we're never alone. But anyways, I just wanted to share some different things that I'm thinking about. So we are in the process of adopting, if you didn't know that already. And our little girl is so cute. So our situation's a little different in the sense of we fostered her first. So we have met her. She currently lives in our home, and yeah. So we know what we're getting into with her her physical limitations. And actually, one of the reasons that she ended up in our home is because the social worker knows that I have mild cerebral palsy, and that's what our little girl has as well. Well, she has, I would say, moderate cerebral palsy. And so the social worker was like, hey, you have this and she has this, and so you'll know and understand what she's dealing with. So she saw us as a good match. And so I'm grateful for that. I couldn't imagine our lives without her. The area that I'm like processing and thinking about a lot is, what are things going to be like once we adopt her and move back to the States? We know what we're getting into. We love her, or we're willing to go through surgeries in the future if need be. We're willing to deal with wheelchairs, walkers, braces, whatever. I guess the thing I'm wondering about is, we live in the country with small towns around us. Nothing that I would consider big city at all. Like, they don't even have malls and things. And so a lot of times, not a lot of times, when we go to church, like, there's no other kids in wheelchairs. I don't even personally know anybody around us that has cerebral palsy and is close to her age. I've met different people through like a Facebook group and stuff, but I've never like met them in person. And so, it's processing, like, when we choose where our church home will be. Like, one factor is, do they have an elevator, or is it a situation where we won't have to deal with stairs? Will she be able to move around easily with a gait trainer or a walker or a wheelchair around the pews and things? How might the other kids excuse me, how might the other kids react to her? How might adults react to her? I'm sorry, some of this might even sound silly. Like, the church that I've gone to growing up, the only church that I ever really remember going to consistently growing up, that we still go to, has an elevator, but that elevator is really loud. And so, I'm thinking like, okay, we sing, and then there's children's moments, and then after children's moments, they go down to children's church, like, and, we sing Jesus Loves Me during that time, and you normally hear, like, the stampede of the kids, going down the stairs, and the loudness of that. But to take the time to kick on the elevator, for everybody to hear that, to get her downstairs, it's something that, as far as I know, my church has never done. And so we haven't made a final decision on where, what church we'll go to. And when we get back, and part of me, because we've made, all these close relationships with all these people, and all these people care for us, I know you're not supposed to church hop, but I guess I need to talk to some other missionaries about, like, what do you do when it comes to making that final decision about where you go to church? Is it like your main sending church or whatever? Anyways, that's probably another topic, probably another video. So, there's the different thoughts of church. We've always said if we lived in the area that I grew up in, we would love our kids to go to the school I went to, because it's a small country school. The teachers are amazing. You normally don't have major issues, and I've got family that teach there, and so I know my kids would be looked after. But with it being a smaller school, there also is, if the kids needed extra help or services or whatever, would they be able to get it from that school, or would it have to come from somewhere else? And so it's figuring that out. There's the thought of, ramps. Like, we don't know where we're going to end up living, and we don't know if that house is going to have a ramp, and we'll have to put a ramp in there. And then it's like Thomas, he goes and visits, his grandparents, his aunts and uncles all the time. Like, I want our daughter to have that experience too. And so it's just like, okay, do we carry a piece of plywood in our car all the time and then just throw it on the steps to get her up and in? Or would some of them be willing to consider putting in ramps? Or I don't know. I'm probably overthinking a lot of this, but I guess I wanted to share some anxiety I've been having, some worries, like going from living overseas pretty much full time to transitioning back to living in the States full time. Like, that's gonna be a transition in itself, and could definitely be nerve-wracking and whatnot. But then on top of that, we don't live close to a Johnny and Friends. We don't live super close to a children's hospital. Like I said, like, I grew up going to a school where there were twins in my grade. One used crutches and one was in a wheelchair. And then there was a couple of kids sprinkled here and there that were in wheelchairs or needed other things. There's a boy that I think he just graduated from the school I went to growing up that was in a wheelchair. But other than that, there's not a lot of it. Now, I don't want to ever put my kids in a situation where they're just surrounded by people like them, because that's not, that's not realistic. That's not reality. But I also don't want them to feel alone. I don't want them to feel like it's just them in this boat. As Thomas, is overcoming sensory things and working through that, like, I guess it'll probably be easier to find kids that are in his boat, because it is a more common thing. But, like, I'm always looking for books that have kids with autism or cerebral palsy or whatever, because I want my kids to see kids like them and to not feel alone, and be like, okay, there are kids that have went through this. As much as I want my kids to have just normal classmates and whatnot, like, I think it would also be really cool for our daughter to meet a little boy or a little girl that's in a similar situation as her. For a while she was going to therapy with a little boy, and I think it just makes a difference to know that, hey, I'm not the only one that goes through this. Hey, I'm not the only one that has these struggles, and they're doing well, so I can do well, and just to motivate each other. Now, granted, growing up, I didn't know a lot of people that were like me, but my mom made friends with another mom that had twins, and one of them had cerebral palsy. So I remember going to therapy with him and hanging out at their house, and just, it was nice to have that connection through that season of life. We don't communicate or talk or stuff anymore. But it made a difference. And so I find myself kind of, I guess, seeking out the same thing now. And just knowing that other people have been through this kind of thing helps. But there's definitely a lot of, okay, how will we handle this? How will we handle that? Hoping, friends and family don't say odd things or just uncomfortable things, and they probably will. But yeah, we've got a lot to process, a lot we're thinking through, and, excuse me, I always yawn when I make videos. I don't know why. But I know no matter what, the Lord will be with us and will help us, through it. And thankfully, our kids are not the first ones to go through these challenges and struggles. And yeah, so we are very thankful for our support community. We're very thankful for our partners, our community. I'm a part of a Zoom group of parents that have kids with special needs, and it's just, that has been very helpful. And I know there's got to be many more of you out there that are going through things like this. So thank you so much for watching, praying, caring, loving us, and we'll see you next time. Bye. God bless.